The December 18th, 2023 regular meeting of the Cinnaminson Township Committee is now called to order. Everyone please rise and join me in saluting the flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This meeting is being held in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, Public Law 1975, Chapter 231. Notice of this meeting was published in the Burlington County Times and the Courier Post on January 6, 2023. Roll call, please, Madam Secretary.
Yes, Mayor. Mr. Horner.
Here.
Mrs. Cravo.
Present.
Mr. Seagrass.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Kondo.
Here.
Mayor McGill.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Turn that off. Okay, first thing on our agenda tonight is we have presentation. The next is the Spotlight Cinnaminson Business Program. The purpose of this program is to recognize a local business that has made special efforts to improve or contribute to the community. I will now turn it over to Deputy Mayor and Economic Development Advisory Committee member Paul Kondo.
Good evening. We've got a recognition this evening for the Giovanni family. They have taken a lot of time and effort, and finally, after no one can figure out how long it has been since there has been a viable business on that location, but the corner of the northeast corner of Route 130 and Taylor's Lane, I remember it as a car dealership. I remember it as an empty car dealership. I remember it as an empty lot, and now there are two thriving businesses on it, the Tim Hortons and the Popeyes Louisiana Kitchen, and more businesses to come on that very property. So I would like to take a second to commend the Giovanni family on redeveloping that into a viable piece of our Route 130 corridor. And I was told this evening that there is one remaining piece of the old car dealership left on that property, and it is the flagpole that you guys fly a flag from. So if you could come up, and I would like to present you with this certificate. We appreciate everything you've done, and best of luck in the business.
And the donuts are good.
I guess I should keep this there.
Oh, yeah, what are you doing?
I know. Really, dude?
Put it on the floor. You're gonna go in the bathroom.
How about I get the background like this? Well, you guys first.
Yeah, this group first.
I'll get out of the way. Stop it.
Thank you so much.
Okay, smile. As you can tell.
Is that the cop that's saying he wants the donuts?
Where are you leaving?
Thanks again. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. I will be there.
You've got your Tim Hortons frequent customer card.
Yes, I
don't
do.
you?
On my phone, and I got a card too. Ugh. Thank you, Paul. It was very nice. Nice job. Next on our agenda is committee liaison reports. Committee member Horner for Finance, Economic Development. You're up, James.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Appreciate that, and the presentation for the Business of the Year Award was my report this evening. Thank you, Deputy Mayor Conda, for the presentation. I really appreciate that.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity.
Nice job. Second committee member Cravel, Parks and Recreation and Veterans Affairs.
I don't have anything to report as we are at year-end for Parks and Recreation, but I do want to grab the opportunity to thank all those who've contributed to the success of the events that we've been able to provide our residents here in Cinnaminson. I would specifically like to thank the efforts of our Public Works and our Police Department, as well as the continued contributions made by our staff and volunteers. I hope to see our community services grow and expand over the next year. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Mrs. Cravel. Next up is committee member Segrist for Public Works.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a couple updates from Public Works. Residents are reminded there is no curbside brush or leaf collection in the months of January and February. The Public Works Convenience Yard located at 1601 Union Landing Road is open every day for residents to dispose of leaves and brush. No contractors are permitted. And just one more note, actually, I'll do a couple. I think there's Christmas tree collection will begin the second week of January. Residents are reminded that these are for real Christmas trees, not in bags, no decorations, and no lights, please. And please separate it from brush. And there will be a rabies clinic scheduled for Saturday, January 6th from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. at the Public Works facility. Residents are reminded to remain in their vehicles with their pets at all times while vaccines are administered. Residents should visit the township website or contact Public Works 856-829-6. Oh, that's not Public Works, but that is the number to call. This is to pre-register, 856-829-6000, extension 2301 for pre-registration. And that concludes my report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Segrist. Deputy Mayor Conda for Administration and Health and Senior Services.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have nothing for administration this evening, however. I just have a note about senior services. On the 7th of December, we had the senior holiday dinner, and I appreciate all the help. I believe the police department was involved in that, as well as the fire district. I hear that it was a great success. Normally, I would go to that, but I was out of town on that day, so I was unable to make it. But I understand the first senior dinner back since COVID was a great success, and I appreciate all the work that went into it from everybody who was involved. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Conda. For public safety, I have the November 2023 activity report. Total incidents responded to was 2263. Total arrests made were 25. Total property checks made 787. Total motor vehicle stops 217. Total motor vehicle summonses issued was 229. Total DWI arrests was 7, and then for Morgan Cemetery, we had 2 for suspicious vehicles. They were going on arrival. That concludes my report. Next is a ordinance public hearing. Mr. Schuberger, can you give us some details on this ordinance, please?
Sure, Mayor. This is Ordinance 7, amending Chapter 405 of the Municipal Code to establish Article 2 entitled Lead-Based Paint. Recently enacted legislation by the state of New Jersey amended the Lead Hazard Assistance Act regarding lead paint hazards on residential properties. What this ordinance will do is amend the municipal code to comply with that statute and require landlords within the township to adhere to the lead-based hazard requirements from the law. That's exactly, succinctly what it's going to do, Mayor.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Okay, may I have a motion to open public comment on ordinance 2023-7, please?
I'll make that motion, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Conda. Can I have a second?
Mr. Mayor, I'll second that.
Thank you, Mr. Horner. Voice vote. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Nays? The ayes have it. Public comment on ordinance 2023-7 is now open. Please come forward and state your name and address for the record, please. Bueller? Turner?
Christine Turner, 1909 Washington Street, Cinnaminson. Just a quick question on the lead-based paint. Is that just for rentals? And what is the current CO process for rentals in Cinnaminson?
So with respect, if I might, Mayor?
Yes, you may.
So with respect to this particular ordinance, it's only for rentals, because it gets captured on that, and I will allow Mr. Schubiger to give you the lowdown on the rental inspection process in the township.
So that's something typically that goes through a number of different offices within the township. None of that's going to change with this ordinance. This just amends that specific requirement. So if you have any questions regarding that particular part, the ordinance will be codified tonight, and then you can contact the construction office, even the zoning office, to get particulars. But it's just that one particular aspect of the statute that was changed.
And this will be another thing that every landlord will have to meet in addition to all the other requirements of the rental inspection.
When they do their CO? Thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's when it sells, not when it's,
Thank you, Christine.
What did I say?
she said sells, but it's not. It's when a new renter comes in. I don't think so.
Sure.
Is this something that a specialist will have to certify and come and inspect?
Yes.
So not really the township, maybe someone that's licensed to inspect lead-based paint?
Yeah, they have somebody called a certified lead evaluation contractor that somebody has to get licensed for, and that's the one that has to do the inspection, certify the results, or get it, or the property has to be brought into code before they can be lived in or possessed.
Thank you, sir.
It's not for the sale, it's for when they went to rent.
Christine has a follow-up.
So if it's not built before 1978, will you still have to do that or not? Because that's the year for lead.
I don't know how it reads.
Yeah, you can get certain exemptions under the ordinance and under the statute. If you can prove that it was, I think 78 is the operative year, you can get certain exemptions without having to use the certified lead evaluator.
Mayor, if I may?
Yes, you may.
I'm pretty sure in the ordinance,
It's in the
it
ordinance.
says were constructed during or after 1978.
It's in the ordinance.
Very good.
Tell Sandy did a great job.
I just saw that.
Anyone else? Okay, seeing no one else come forward, I'll make a motion to close public comment on ordinance 2023-7. Can I have a second, please?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mrs. Cravel. Voice vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, the ayes have it. I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 2023-7. Can I have a second, please?
I will second that.
Thank you, Mr. Conda. Roll call vote, please, Madam Secretary.
Yes, Mr. Corning.
Aye.
Mrs. Craybill.
Aye.
Mr. Seagrass.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Konda.
Aye.
Mayor McGill.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is public hearing on ordinance 2023-8, amending Chapter 202 of the Township Code of the Township of Cinnaminson entitled Business Registration. Mr. Schuberger, can you give us a little, some details on this ordinance?
Sure, Mayor.
A little something for the effort?
Thank you. Will do. Thank you. So similar to the previous ordinance, Chapter 405. I'm okay. I'll be all right. I can over. Chapter 202 of the Municipal Code entitled Business Registration. Also recently enacted legislation from the state of New Jersey, which requires business owners and rental unit owners to maintain liability insurance policies and to register those certificates of insurance with local municipalities on an annual basis. Again, this is just ensuring that we are compliant with this new statute. It'll amend the municipal code and will require business owners and rental unit owners within the township to adhere to the certificate of insurance requirements set forth by the statute. Mr. Platt, does that explain it pretty well?
Does it very well and
Okay.
succinctly.
Thank you. Thank you. Can I have a motion to open public comment on ordinance 2023-8?
I'll make that motion, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Segrist. I will second that. Voice vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, the ayes have it. Public comment on ordinance 2023-8 is now open. Please come forward and state your name and address for the record. Bueller, anyone? Seeing no one, I will make a motion to close public comment on ordinance 2023-8. Can I have a second, please?
I'll second that, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Segrist. Voice vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, the ayes have it. Can I have a motion to approve ordinance 2023-8, please?
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 2023-8.
Thank you, Mrs. Cravel. I'll second that. Roll call vote, please, Madam Secretary.
Mr. Horner.
Aye.
Mrs. Cravel.
Aye.
Mr. Seeger.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Conda.
Aye.
Mayor McGill.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, excuse me, next is ordinance 2023-9, repealing Chapter 97 of the Code of the Township of Cinnaminson entitled Recreation Advisory Board. Mr. Schubager, can you give us all some details on this ordinance, please?
Yes, sir. Ordinance 9 is repealing Chapter 97 of the Municipal Code, which is entitled Recreation Advisory Board, and this ordinance simply repeals this entire section of the code. The idea, the governing body will be reviewing recreation activities as a whole and coming up with perhaps a subcommittee to oversee community programs and activities under one umbrella going forward. That's to be determined. This action only repeals the existing part of that code, or the part of our municipal code. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. So we could reestablish this later on, if we so decide? Sure. Thank you. Anybody have any questions?
No, sir.
Okay. I will make a motion to open public comment on ordinance 2023-9. Can I have a second, please?
I'll second.
Voice vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Nays, the ayes have it. Public comment on ordinance 2023-9 is now open. Please come forward, state your name and address for the record, please.
Douglas Sell, 104 Cuthbert Road. I just learned about the repeal of this ordinance within the last week. I am a board member of the Cinnaminson Lacrosse Club, so I'm constantly in communication and applying for permits through the Recreational Advisory Board. It came as a surprise to learn that this council is being repealed, eliminated. But can you read again for me the summary you gave for the need to repeal this? What's your name, sir?
I'm Eric Schubager. How are you?
Could you read it? I'm doing well. Can you read that again for me, please?
The summary of the need or the summary of what this does?
The summary you read for the record.
Details of the ordinance.
The details of
So
the...
it removes this section of the municipal code, removes the Recreation Advisory Board as a board by ordinance within the township.
And then you described near the end what some of the potential solutions would be. Could you repeat those for everyone?
Sure. So I think what's going to happen, and of course the committee members up here are going to be deciding that, and they're here with me, is an ad hoc, which is a committee of the township appointed by the governing body that is not via ordinance, that doesn't have a certain formality to it, to work on community activities and programs under one umbrella, because there's a lot of things going on in town right now. I think we've done a really good job as a town making that a focus. Recreation, community policing programs, all those things. And to try to bring it together under an umbrella in an ad hoc format, and then after 6 months to a year, kind of determining how is this working, and if it works, do we want to keep it in this fashion? Do we want to formalize it via an ordinance? I think Mayor McGill alluded to that. We could bring back a committee by ordinance once again in the future if they so choose. So I think that's where we're at.
So what I've heard so far is we're going to eliminate a committee and replace it with another committee, but we're going to make it an ad hoc committee, which to me means there's less formalization. I heard you describe that the current advisory and the township does a good job at coordinating all of these things under one umbrella.
I think what I said was
You said good
the
job.
town's doing a very good job with putting activities, making it a focus for the town, and I think they are.
Yeah, so what, to me, when I see that this ordinance is being repealed, that this advisory council is being eliminated, to me, what that says is something's not working. And I haven't yet heard what's not working in the current system that we need to do something differently.
May I? May I, Mr. Mayor? Yes. So Doug, you posed a question to me, and, I certainly encourage you to come to the meeting tonight. I think one of the things I think that I can share on behalf of committee is that the current ordinance really talks specifically about having a representative from sports programs. And I think part of the issue that we're running into throughout the year, and forgive me if I'm misspeak here, is that a lot of the events that are done on behalf of the township run through that committee, but there's no representative from the town there other than Mrs. Cravel, right? So we don't have a member of Public Works there. We don't have a sitting member of the police department there. We don't have a member of the fire department there. So I think what we're trying to examine is if we rewrite this committee, and we can do so, and we can have representatives from all those that I just mentioned, right? Police, fire, public works. A lot of the people that are there either maintaining crowd control, right, or preparing the parks or cleaning them up and giving input, that the board can be, for lack of, I don't want to say more effective because that insinuates that the current group is not effective, but what I will say is they could be more effective in the township and the advisory board collaboration versus people having a meeting, talking, coming back to the township, and then talking to Public Works, for example, and then Public Works saying, well, it really can't work like this, so let's go back to the committee and say, well, it really doesn't work like this. Or I'll use lacrosse as an example because you're a member of the board. It's, hey, we need this much space at wherever it is, right? Wherever you guys can accommodate us is where we'd like to be. And then we go to Public Works, and Public Works says, well, this space is already spoken for because this person contacted us directly and didn't go through, let's say, the Parks and Rec Committee, and they didn't really know that it was supposed to go through the Parks and Rec Committee because they don't sit on that board. So I think we're just trying to kind of close the gap between Parks and Rec and the township by having members of the township, who work for the township rather, and Parks and Recs kind of work together. Sure. Does that make any sense at all?
So I'm not hearing anything that I disagree with, but getting back to how this is all going about, I mean, why then, Ryan, would that not be suggested as an amendment to the current ordinance? The makeup of the committee is 7 members, one of which is a liaison from the committee.
Correct.
Why not just amend the ordinance with language that says, hey, this committee, instead of 7, 6 of which are at-large members for all
Sports
intents and
programs.
purposes?
Right.
Well, we can talk about that. I question,
Yeah, the RSO thing, I know, that's a separate thing.
I don't think any of
Yes.
those, no, not RSO, I don't think any of the 6 at-large members are officers of sports clubs. I could be wrong.
Well, Steve Kearney
Yeah,
is,
there's
Steve
one.
is, yeah.
Steve Kearney
So
is
there's
the
one,
president
one of 6.
baseball. Yeah.
We have the liaison on committee, Ms. Cravel, and, but again, I don't understand why the current ordinance would need to be repealed based on what you described.
Sure.
To me, that sounds more like an amendment. Hey, we're going to add 3 new positions, non-voting, to the advisory council, one from Public Works, one from, community policing or the public safety. To me, that sounds like a solution. And then Mr. What was your name? I'm sorry.
Shoemaker.
Shoemaker. Then we've made these amendments, 6 months, a year, do a postmortem. Is it working? Is it not? Are we getting more, to use your word, more efficient communication?
Yeah.
Amongst the different silos in town?
Mm-hmm.
To me, that seems like a solution, and a viable solution, and one that, doesn't raise the hackles on the back of my neck. I mean, I have so many other questions, but I know this is, I appreciate the responses. I
Yeah.
appreciate not getting blank stares back, and I appreciate the dialogue.
Yeah, of course.
But it just seems, I don't know, it seems like, from my perspective as a resident, it seems like you guys are throwing the baby out with the bathwater. And maybe there's more than one way to approach this. Like I said, there's obviously a problem, or this ordinance wouldn't be up for being repealed. What are the problems? What are the solutions? Are amendments needed? More engagement with sports programs, more engagement with public safety, what have you. I mean,
So,
I find it,
yeah.
it just, to me, this raises lots of questions.
So Doug, again, forgive me if I'm misspeaking, but I can only speak for myself right now, right, unless they correct me otherwise, and say I can speak for them as well. But, so you're making the assumption that those conversations were not had, that, hey, is the appropriate course of action to amend this? Or is the appropriate course of action maybe to say, let's kind of start all over again, right? So I'm not going to sit here and say what conversations we had or didn't have. I can just tell you that every single alternative was discussed, and this committee has made the decision for a litany of reasons, right? Communication may just be one of them, but attendance could have been another, right? So we have decided that we think we need to kind of reset, right? Start over. And that.
I have a question.
Sure.
When was the last time the advisory council met in person?
In person?
Or online?
Online was June.
June? So for 6 months, the council hasn't had a meeting?
August, June. It was June of 2023, this past June.
And when was last in
It
person?
does not meet during the summer months, never has. Based on just the events that were coming up and everything like that, we do have a coordinator that juggles and handles a lot of the event planning.
Okay. So, haven't met since June. Ryan, you discussed, at least amongst committee, you've had discussions about, these are all the options on the table, and apparently you landed on the best one was repealing Chapter 97. Did any of these discussions include people that are on the advisory council, other than the liaison from committee, Ms. Gravel? There's 6 other members. Were any of them included in the discussion?
I think they were they? No, I don't think they were.
No. Okay. Again, can you see it from my perspective that, okay, I got at least one head shake, that that this seat, it just seems highly unusual. And I caution you guys on voting to repeal this ordinance. I would encourage all of you to table it and to have a discussion with your recreation advisory board, with stakeholders from sports clubs within town, adult organizations that apply for permits and use the parks, and I would encourage you to include public safety and public works in those discussions. Maybe have a listening session first before you take any further action on this. I think taking action now without any input from these community organizations and the stakeholders within your community would be unwise.
So Doug, let me just push back a little bit, if I may. I'm not suggesting that what you're saying is something that we shouldn't do. But I can speak as a member of the baseball board for, I don't know, 10, 12 years or so. I was the vice president of that, so I didn't really have a lot of interaction with Parks and Recreation, and I think I can speak for the president during that time. He really didn't either, other than to say, did we get the permit that we asked for during the times that we asked for it, and did we get all the fields that we asked for? So I don't know if going to each, and I'll use soccer because I was involved in soccer for a number of years as well. I don't know what type of feedback you're going to get from the sports organizations as far as, hey, should this committee continue in its current form or should it change? I think the only response you might get is, well, if it changes, does that mean I won't get the field space that I used to get before? Because if it means I won't, then I don't want it to change. But if it means I will, then I don't really care, because I don't really have much interaction with them other than permits. And Mrs. Turner could probably attest to that. Other than permits, she probably doesn't talk to Steve Kearney very often, unless there's an issue with someone using the field during permit time. They may complain to her.
But as far as interaction is concerned, probably very little. And I'm not suggesting that we shouldn't take their feedback. I just don't know how valuable it will be.
Well, I will say this, Ryan. I think, Mr. Horner, change for...
Call me Ryan, Doug, it's quite all right.
James is okay, you can call
I
him
mean,
James.
you are wearing a suit. Change for the sake for change, I don't think is right. I haven't really heard anything so far that leads me to believe that the committee needs to be, or the advisory council needs to be eliminated. And you know, as in regards to permitting and interfacing with the Parks and Rec, if part of the reason that this advisory board is being eliminated is because it's not acting out its mandate in the way that it should, I might agree with you on that. I've had multiple issues that I've expressed the issues that I've had with Parks and Rec as far as permitting goes extensively with a member of a prior administration, and it was never addressed or satisfied to my liking. Ultimately, what my board ended up doing was we ended up basically leaving the town. We pay thousands and thousands of dollars for field space in another community because we could not get the representation. We could not get representation on Parks and Rec. I did not personally feel like permits were being awarded based on the ordinance as written in Section 381. And once the decisions are made on permits, I have no recourse. So it's either take what you get and be happy, or nothing. So we end up spending an incredible amount of money for field space outside of town in order to meet our demand. But that's a totally separate discussion. Totally, and I don't want to get into that any more than I already have. So again, the way this reads, it seems like something is structurally wrong with this committee. I don't know that eliminating the ordinance is the answer, and I highly caution all of you for voting on repealing this. I think a more measured approach would be to table it and have a discussion with, one, the advisory committee, two, any other stakeholders within the community that either are already interacting with Parks and Rec, or you wish for them to have an interaction with Parks and Rec, like Public Safety and the Department of Public Works. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Doug.
Thanks, Doug.
I have a question. Steph, how many times do they meet? Like, and what's the attendance when this advisory board meets?
The attendance in this past year has been extremely poor. You may only have one or two individuals attend the meeting, whether it be virtually, whatever you want to call it.
Doug, did you hear this? I asked her about what's the attendance for the advisory committee.
Christine could speak to it probably more factually than I can, other than just poor. This past year, the attendance has been poor at best. You may have one or two committee members show up per meeting. Is that about right, Christine?
So our last meeting was in July, or June.
And that was the most attended meeting in probably 3 years.
And then previously, before that, I'd say that probably a few before then, we had to cancel at least one, if not two.
We canceled two.
Right.
Two because of attendance.
Yeah, the one, I don't think anybody was able to attend, the other one, maybe we had two. And previously, before, there weren't too many. Attendance definitely went down this year.
Okay, thank you.
I know I'm not at the microphone anymore, but can I say one last?
Wait, we got to do it the right way, so.
You want me to come back up?
Yeah, Mr. Eckert, yeah, after Mr. Eckert finishes, you can.
For the record, I haven't participated as an applicant, a permit applicant in Parks and Rec since COVID in 2020. But in every Parks and Rec meeting I ever attended in person, it seemed to be full attendance. All 7 or 6 out of 7 members were in attendance. So if meetings are still not live, they're still on Zoom, that could be a contributing factor. I don't know what other committees in township are still meeting by Zoom. I know zoning board over a year ago started meeting in person. I can't imagine, planning board meets in person. You meet in person. Why is Parks and Rec not meeting in person at least over a year ago? That's a rhetorical question.
Thank you. Thanks. Wake up, Dean.
Dan Eckert, 176 Winding Lane. I am on the committee, and my main question is why? Why weren't we notified? Why do I have to hear it on Facebook? Why do I have to hear so much that I joined the board on Facebook or other people? And if you do this, people ask me, what happened to it? They dissolved us, didn't tell us. How's that sound to you guys? Seriously.
I agree.
When am I supposed to go to football or lacrosse? I'm on the meeting. What's going on at parks? I don't know. I haven't heard from them since June.
You kind of just answered your question when you're talking about nobody's coming to these meetings, Dan.
Yes, they were, Ernie.
What's that?
Yes, they were. We had quite a few people coming and think we were supposed to go live in September, and I didn't hear anything since June. So, Ryan, you were going to join it,
It's very true.
and that's when all this stuff started, and you
Good stuff.
started running.
Oh, okay.
So that's, you guys do what you want, but personally, I just think, you have baseball, you have soccer. So they don't have to call for their permits. What about the little guys? What about field hockey? What about lacrosse? What
Wait,
about
say that,
football?
I'm sorry, Dan, I'm sorry. Say that again. I'm sorry. I missed what you had soccer, you had who?
You have the two big groups,
Right,
and girls softball, which is
Right.
not as big as soccer and baseball.
right.
What about the small groups?
For
For pulling
in regards
permits,
to
like
what?
Ryan, you said, oh, nobody has a problem, no one has to go to it. Of course Bo didn't have to go to it. You guys didn't have to go, you were the biggest in town.
Right.
You have your fields.
Right.
But what about a growing lacrosse? What about a growing football?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
And they used to come to the meeting and speak up for the small guys.
Right.
But now they can't?
No, I don't know that that's what we're even insinuating, let alone blatantly saying, is that that's not going to happen. I think what we're talking about is it's more than just sports, Dan, right? Like, you're here as a representative of two sports, football and lacrosse, right? And also as a
Well,
member.
I'm on a director of soccer, Dale, so I am here for
Right.
soccer too, so.
So, but you're here representing sports programs, right? So the spirit of the Parks and Rec Committee, though, isn't just in
Correct.
regard to sports, right?
Correct.
It's in regard to all the other activities that this committee is starting to expand on, right? So all the different things that we do, including National Night Out and Fall Festival and all those other things, right? So we're trying to figure out what is the best way to have a group that effectively can manage and give input and meaningful input, not just pertaining to sports, and not have all this back and forth and not have people not show up. And listen, I hear you when you say that's not true, we did show up, right? So I'm not gonna dispute that. I can only tell you what we are told, right, that attendance is not good. And I think we also heard that as well tonight, not just from Committeewoman Cravel, but also from someone else who also was part of that board. So for us, it's how do we get this group working more effectively? Is Doug's recommendation of, hey, table it and kind of have some further dialogue? Maybe that's it. But I don't think it's fair to say, because we're thinking about doing this, that means that these, your words not mine, smaller growing programs are no longer going to have a voice or someone to go to. Because that's not the intention of this
I
committee.
get what you're saying. I
Right?
get what you're
Listen,
saying.
nobody has more kids involved in sports or has had than me,
I got it.
right?
I see
And I know
that.
you know that.
Yeah, I
So-
know that.
so
But
nobody
the way
cares
you're
more about sports
doing
than
it
me.
right now, without Steph or Christine contacting us on the board, saying, hey, listen, we're thinking about this.
Fair,
That's fine.
fair.
I gotta find out through some emails.
Absolutely.
3 days ago.
That's fair.
That's fair.
You gotta go to this meeting, what's going on?
Yeah, that's fair.
And you don't think I'm gonna get feedback and ask me questions going on later?
Well,
And it's gonna
particularly
be
in
too
football,
late.
right?
If I didn't show up today and talk, it would have been would have been like, oh, well, I guess I missed that meeting.
Yeah.
But
No,
I
that's
didn't know
fair.
about it.
Yeah, no, that's a fair,
And that's the point I'm getting right now
Yep.
is if I'm being hit with a blind eye of, I didn't even know what was going on, and I'm on the board,
yeah.
and we haven't met since June. So, and what am I supposed to reach out to Christine, say, what's going on? Why aren't we meeting? What's going on?
Well, that wouldn't be
According
inappropriate.
to my wife in the business world, that's my fault. I should have been reaching out. Why aren't we meeting? What's going on? But life's busy, whatever, but, you
Sure.
know, so.
Yeah, no, it's, listen.
And my point, I think Doug has a point. I think she should step back and push this back until at least next meeting, until you at least announce to the Parks and Recs that, hey, we're gonna regroup this in 6 months from now,
I think that's fair.
all right?
Yeah, that's fair,
Thanks.
Dan, that's fair.
I
Absolutely.
agree. Thank you.
Thanks, Dan.
Thanks, Dan.
Yeah, I think we tabled. Do you think you tabled this?
Yeah, absolutely.
100%.
Yeah.
Anybody else coming forward? All right.
Doug, this is it. You
This
get
is-
no more.
yeah.
There's no more.
Come on.
Not tonight, you won't.
Eagles in
Sorry.
an hour, Doug.
I'm gonna get the phone book out and start reading from it. I, in the spirit of volunteerism, and being someone that cares deeply about this community, if you choose to table the appealing of this ordinance, I am more than happy to make myself available to be part of a discussion group to get feedback from
That's great.
the community.
Thank you.
Excellent, thank you.
Anything else, Doug, while you're up here? All right.
Thank you, sir.
All right, can I make a motion to close public comment on ordinance
I
2023-9?
will make that motion, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Seegers. I will second that. Voice vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Nays? What do we have to do to table this? We're going to table this for just further discussion.
Just make a motion to table.
Table it.
And then the ordinance will die because this would be our last chance of this legislative session, which is an annual
Right.
legislative session to do it. You have to introduce and adopt in the
Right.
same year, so if you want to do it in the future, you'd have to reintroduce.
So make a
renotice,
motion
and
to, what'd you say the first part?
Make a motion to table.
Table it. All right, can I have a motion to table ordinance 2023-9?
I want to make a motion to table ordinance 2023-9, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Seegers. Can I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mrs. Cravel. Roll call vote, please, Madam Secretary?
Yes, Mayor. Mr. Horner.
Aye.
Mrs. Crayville.
Aye.
Mr. Seagrass.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Kondo.
Aye.
Mayor Miguel.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for all those coming up forward and speaking. Thank you, appreciate that. That's the way things get done. We'll have a dialogue, and then, you know, the only way we find out, Mr. Goins will tell you firsthand, that's the only way we know the pulse of what's going on in town, is by dialogue. Okay, moving forward. Resolution 2023-146, authorized township to enter into a cooperative pricing agreement. Is that part of the,
No, it's not part of the consent agenda. We don't need a public comment. We just need a vote.
just a vote, okay.
Yep.
Can I have a vote to approve Resolution 123-146? I'm sorry, 2023-146. Anyone? Bueller?
We approving it? Mayor, I can give some background on that for you.
Yeah, would you give me
if you'd like.
background before we,
Please.
Is that okay?
yeah, please.
All right, cool.
A little something for the effort,
Got
thank
that
you.
going for me.
Which
So,
is nice.
Resolution 146 is authorizing the township to enter into a cooperative purchasing agreement. Our CFO and purchasing agent, Julia Edmondson, has reviewed this agreement, recommends that the township participate in the agreement. It'll help us obtain competitive pricing and delivery of certain goods and services, including vehicles and equipment specifically. So it is recommended by the staff to enter into this agreement, Mayor.
Thank you. Everybody okay? Any questions?
Nope.
No, sir.
All right, can I have a motion to approve Resolution 2023-146, please?
I'll make that motion, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Horner. Can I have a second?
I'll second it, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Ms. Seegers. Roll call vote, please, Madam Secretary.
Mr. Horner.
Aye.
Mrs. Craybill.
Aye.
Mr. Seeger.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Kondo.
Aye.
Mayor Miguel.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, on to the consent agenda. Mr. Schubager, can you give us some detail regarding the resolutions of tonight's consent agenda, please?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
We have a number of items tonight on the consent agenda, Mayor, starting with Resolution 147, which is authorizing the sale of surplus township vehicles and equipment via online auction. This comes from our Public Works Superintendent, Kevin Gaunt, who has identified certain equipment and vehicles that are no longer useful for the department or the township. Per state statute, the governing body may authorize the sale of this equipment and vehicles via public auction. Mr. Gaunt recommends that the auction is conducted via an online public auction platform. Resolution 148 is authorizing an auction of an impounded vehicle. This comes from our police chief, Richard Calabrese, and his staff. They've attempted to communicate with the owner of an impounded vehicle without success. And again, per state statute and our municipal code, as a matter of fact, the governing body may authorize the sale of that said impounded vehicle via public auction. Chief Calabrese recommends that the auction is conducted and awarded to the highest bidder. Resolution 149 is authorizing the purchase of fire panel equipment through the Hunterdon County Educational Services Commission Cooperative Purchasing Agreement. This again comes from our Public Works Superintendent. After his review, he recommends the replacement of fire panel equipment at the Public Works facility. The equipment is available through this purchasing agreement and the vendor Advantage Security. Ms. Edmondson has determined that funding in the amount of $27,253.25 is indeed available for this purpose and recommends that the governing body authorize the purchase tonight. Resolution 150 is authorizing the township to rejoin the Garden State Municipal Joint Insurance Fund. This is an extension of our current agreement with the JIF for a period of 3 years. Ms. Edmondson, our risk management professional, John Hannison, myself have reviewed our recent experience with the JIF. We jointly recommend that we continue our relationship with the Garden State Municipal Joint Insurance Fund as the township's insurance provider and recommend that the governing body authorize the extension of the contract. Resolution 151 is authorization of an award of contract for the purchase of a drone for the police department. Quotes were received for, Lieutenant, help me out, a Skydio drone? Yes. Okay. Mayor?
Yes.
Got that? I got
it.
Skydio. The lowest responsible quote was Adorama Inc. in the amount of $26,897.56. Again, Ms. Edmondson's determined that sufficient funding is available for this purpose and recommends the contract award tonight. Resolution 152 is authorizing change orders for the 2021 road program, specifically North Randolph Avenue. This recommendation comes from project engineer Panoni, who has deemed this project substantially complete and recommends a number of items tonight. A change order which increases the cost of the project by $14,152.88. Another change order which decreases the cost of the project by $9,669.95 for a final project cost of $389,697.43. Mr. Horner, I checked my math. Wow. Resolution 153, authorizing the change order, release of performance guarantee, a posting of a maintenance bond, and a payment for the reconstruction of Kern Street. Our township engineer and project engineer, Remington and Vernick, has reviewed the project and performed the necessary inspections to make these recommendations. I'm going to go through them now. The change order increases the cost of the project by $1,646.75. Releasing of the performance guarantee in the amount of $372,400. The posting of a 2-year maintenance guarantee in the amount of $374,406.75. And a final payment in the amount of $14,733.15, which again, Ms. Edmondson says we have sufficient funding to do tonight. Resolution 154 is the support of a proposed New Jersey Department of Transportation improvement project to the intersection of Route 130 and Riverton Road. As many of you in the room and up here on the dais recall, the DOT has been before this body several times with this proposal. They have presented the plans for improvements to this intersection, and they continually request the township's not only input but support via resolution. These improvements include upgrading traffic signal equipment and ADA-compliant pedestrian crossings. After much discussion with township professionals, which include our police department, our township engineer, specifically our police chief, and members of the governing body, our mutual recommendation is to authorize a resolution of support which highlights the pedestrian improvements, and it will also include the questions, comments, and concerns expressed in writing by the township engineer back in April, which will be attached to the resolution as a matter of record. That's what we've come up with. We do recommend that the governing body authorize if you so choose. I know Mr. Barbadoro is here anxiously awaiting to provide any additional input, as he has been our key contact with this project. Thank you, Joe. It's been a long time since this has come before us. So that's where we are, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And lest I forget, as I sometimes do, there are 2 raffles on the consent agenda. Correct?
Yes.
Okay. Cinnaminson High School project graduation and Cinnaminson Home and School Association, both in March. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Schubaker.
Mr. Mayor, may I?
Yes, you may.
Just for clarification, for the record, Eric, 2023-154, the resolution of loose support for NJDOT's proposed changes to that intersection. Just want to clarify, I do see the letter in here from Remington and Vernick, signed by Mr. Barbadoro. I know that our mayor had a lot of concerns along with our police department, specifically Chief Calabrese. So I just want to make sure that it's very, very clear that not only does our engineer still have some reservations, I know that our police department still has some reservations. I know that a former police officer and our current mayor still has some reservations, and I know that this committee still has some reservations about this as well. So although we are going to do this because we've been asked repeatedly, I feel like every other week we get an email from them, some are not as nice as others, that this committee and staff still have a lot of reservations about this proposed change that they think is going to make it better, but it's a state highway, so there's only so much we can do. If they want to go through with this, they certainly can do so. Do I understand that correctly?
Well summed up, Mr. Horner. I think, and another example of how I think how productive this committee and the administration here right now is, because that project has been in the works for years, right? Joe, at this point, probably 2 to 3 years already. They've been before us several times. They've made changes. They've listened to us. We know it's an important project. It's a very important intersection to the township and our residents. We're not in agreement with everything. However, the state has a responsibility, and they've worked with us, and I think this is the best solution to come up with a compromise on providing the support level that we are comfortable with while not losing out on millions of dollars of potential improvements to that intersection, which I think you do not want to lose out on. And I don't want to speak for Joe. I've never tried that. I'd be unsuccessful with that. But he is here. I know there's a couple of things, Mayor, if you don't mind, I think Joe would probably want to highlight a few things that he's pretty confident in, while we do have concerns that are going to be a major help to all of us here in Cinnaminson. If you're okay with that. Joe has a couple of comments. Thank you, sir. Mr. Barbadoro,
Yes,
that's
Joe.
not putting you on the spot. We did talk, so I think you have a few things you just wanted to highlight.
Yeah, so I mean, I'll just touch a little more on
Thank you.
some of the exact improvements that they're proposing out there. So, they are gonna be removing the signal heads that are in the center, the median. They're gonna be installing those crash cushions you see along that median. They're gonna be installing new signal heads. They're gonna be redoing the timing. They're gonna be installing, shared use path, which is a bit wider than the sidewalks for cyclists and pedestrians. Brand new push buttons. They're changing the signal timing too to allow that signal, that internal queuing to clear. Right now, they both signals turn red at the same time. They're going to alter that a little bit so that some of those vehicles can clear out. And I believe they're going to be having it's going to be, the new system's going to be set up to be proactive. So I think it's the way they explained it to me, that's called a red light extension detection system. So if it detects that it actually has radar, and if it detects that a vehicle's not going to be able to stop in time, it will actually extend the duration of the red light on all approaching signals so that that vehicle can clear. So it's, not all the improvements we're looking for, but without a doubt, there are going to be some improvements to that intersection. So.
Joe, can I ask one question? Is anybody using that radar technology now? Are there any intersections that are local to us? I'm just curious. I've never heard of that.
Yeah, none that I'm aware of. I could definitely find out for you. I'm sure there are some local. I just don't know where they are.
Northern Jersey, somewhere. It's first I'd heard of that
Yeah.
technology as well.
Yeah, they're throwing a lot of stuff at these new signal heads. So.
If it does what it's supposed to do, that puts to rest a few of my concerns with those lights. How far apart are they, Ernie?
238 feet,
That
give
was
or
always,
take a couple inches.
that was always my concern. So if they can alleviate people blowing through those
Yeah.
lights or jumping a red light and T-boning somebody, that'll let me rest a little easier. So we'll see.
Good.
Thank you, Joe.
Yeah.
Thank
Any
you,
other
Joe.
questions?
Thank you, Joe.
Thanks, Joe.
And if I may, Mayor, a lot of people contributed to this, including members of the public, but I just want to highlight, like this subcommittee we work through that works a lot for the things we do. Mayor McGill and Deputy Mayor Conda were really involved and instrumental with providing guidance to us, and I want to thank you for that.
Thank you.
You got it.
We got that going for him. Thank you. Okay. Can I I'll make a motion to open public comment on the consent agenda items only. Can I have a second, please?
I'll second. Go ahead. Go ahead, Deputy Mayor. You
I
got it.
will second that.
Thank you, Mr. Conda. Voice vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Nays, the ayes have it. Public comment on the consent agenda items only is now open. Please come forward, state your name and address for the record. Come on down.
No, hold on, except for you.
Who, is this a new guy? I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Mike Royce, 100 Purnell. On 2023-151, the 26K, does that include training and any certification required of the officers for the drones?
So it does not, Mr. Gorn, I'm sorry, Mayor, may I?
Yes, you may.
It does not, but, and Lieutenant Obachowski's in the audience. I know he'll correct me if I misspeak, but the township has had drones in the past, and we have several members of the police department who have been trained in the use of the drones and on similar models.
Good.
Basically, this is just replacing what we had. What we had was blacklisted by the federal government due to the concerns of China being a spy. So that's what
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, on 23-154. Fortunately, you answered a lot of my questions, because first I was wondering why 8 months later are they asking for a resolution on it, and they've been bugging it all along. But now, back to Joe's letter and things like that, and even when it was discussed here in April, they were talking about doing the road and, left turn and 2 straight. Are they still going with that?
I don't think they are.
They're no longer reversing, is that what you're referring?
No.
That
Remember,
was
the last,
several revisions
Okay.
ago.
yeah,
They reversed
right, that
traffic.
was prior. The last one was, they were gonna have 2 lanes merge right past Bagalati there, type of thing. Is that still part of it?
Yes.
So
DOT actually did respond to our letter, and I believe that is one item that they're willing to change. So there's no longer going to be that merge that we talked about.
Okay, because, yeah, that was going to be a nightmare, I
Yes.
thought.
I brought that same issue up.
So, at the April, we were told that since it wasn't a final, we couldn't see the map. Is it final now that we can have it as a public record to distribute?
They have not provided us with an updated concept plan, so we don't have that available. I can request it and make it available to clerk's office once I receive it.
Mayor, if I can,
Yes, you
isn't the
may.
hope that they'll take a look at some of, because this is basically a conditional resolution of support. Overall, the improvements will benefit, but there's a number of things that we know from local review and local evaluation and experience that we want them to also add. So I think that the hope is that they will not do a final concept or a final plan until they get our comments.
Right, and they already got our comments, correct?
Well, but this is the formalization of those comments.
Okay, so even though the letter's from last April type of thing?
Right.
Okay.
This
Merry
is what they were
Christmas.
looking for.
Merry Christmas to you, too. Thank you.
Mr. Goy.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Goy.
Anyone else? Okay, seeing none, I'll make a motion to close public comment on the consent agenda. Can I have a second?
I'll second that, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Seegers. Voice vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, the ayes have it. Now can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Thank you, Mrs. Cravel. Can I have a second?
I will second that.
Thank you, Mr. Conde. Roll call vote, please, Madam Secretary.
Mr. Horner.
Aye.
Mrs. Craybill.
Aye.
Mr. Segrest.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Kondo.
Aye.
Mayor McGill.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Everybody get a chance to read the meeting minutes from December 4th and closed?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Can I have a motion to approve the meeting minutes for December 4th, 2023, and December 4th, 2023 closed?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes December 4th, 2023, and December 4th, 2023 closed.
Thank you, Mr. Horner. I will second that. Roll call vote, please, Madam Secretary.
Mr. Horner.
Aye.
Mrs. Craybill.
Aye.
Mr. Segrest.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Kondo.
Aye.
Mayor McGill.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next is bills. Everybody get a chance to look at the bill list and have any questions?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Yes.
I will make a motion to approve the bill list. Can I have a second, please?
I'll second that, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Segrest. Roll call vote, please, Madam Secretary.
Mr. Horner.
Aye.
Mrs. Craybill.
Aye.
Mr. Segrest.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Kondo.
Aye.
Mayor McGill.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next is staff and professional comments. Any comments from our professionals tonight? Anyone?
Mayor, I do. So this is your, as mayor, this time around at least, your last regular public meeting, and I just want to thank you for putting up with me all year, because as the administrator and the mayor, as some of you know, have a lot more communication, getting the agendas ready, dealing with the day-to-day, and it's been a pleasure working with you, so thank you.
I appreciate that.
I do have a few comments. First of all, I wanted to accept your thanks for my Buffalo Bills beating the Dallas Cowboys. So
Thank you. I do appreciate that.
I just want to say that it has been a very, very busy year, and we've had a very productive year from where I sit, and nobody does it better than this mayor and this committee. And you have great staff and great other professionals, so it's been very rewarding working here, and I want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a happy and healthy New Year. So thank you, Mayor, and thank you, committee.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Joe, anything? Michael?
I'm all set.
Thank you, same to you. Okay, public comment. Can I have a motion to open public comment, please?
I'll make the motion to open up public comment, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Seekers. Can I have a second?
I will second.
Thank you, Mrs. Cravel. Voice vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, the ayes have it. Public comment is now open. Please come forward to state your name and address for the record.
Hi, my name is Eric Heyman Meltzer, ERIKHEYMAN-Meltzer, MELTZER, 117 White Birch Drive. I meant to come to the meeting last month, but a family emergency kept me busy, but I wanted to start off by obviously congratulating Mayor McGill and Committeeman Horner on winning re-election. I can speak for myself and Brian that we were very thrilled that it was a respectful race just based on the issues, and it was an honor, and me especially, wishing you guys the best on your reelection and the new swearing in next year. So I just wanted to start off with that since I couldn't make it to the last meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, appreciate that.
Of course, of course. The main reason I came here tonight was obviously the big rainstorm. If it hadn't rained, I'd be home getting ready to watch the Eagles tonight. But I saw through Facebook that a lot of flooding had occurred in streets of like Division, Glenview, Fairfax, Lejeune, Carlton, from the Pennsauken Creek swelling. One of my main drivers of getting involved in issues like this is the environment. I'm taking a gap year from Rutgers right now, and while there I'm studying environmental policy. So this is a real driver, especially for people my age as well. And I was kind of looking into it. I know that we in Cinnaminson have multiple creeks, along with being right on the Delaware, Pennsauken, Palmerston, Swede Run, and just a big concern is how over the next couple decades, the sea levels are going to be rising. I found a study that it could be rising by 11 inches within the next decade or two. So obviously these issues on the Pennsauken Creek swelling, along with right behind the Taylor Wildlife area and the harbor neighborhoods are a big concern. So I just would hope to advocate for maybe more innovative storm preventions for future infrastructure damage. I mean, you see the pictures of the houses sitting in those floodwaters, and the foundations can crack, stuff like that. So just, and within, especially me being 21, and, in next 20, 30 years, I'm going to be the one owning a home here in the neighborhood and everything like that. So I just hope to advocate for maybe more innovative preventions for the stormwater, the rainwater rising, and the creeks in the Delaware rising, especially with, Fork Landing Bridge. I mean, I know it was closed for many weeks for repairs, and, I think we've all driven through with the water kind of rising up into the road. So especially with the water going to be rising by possibly 11 inches by the 2030s, it would be a shame to see that infrastructure essentially gone and possibly cost hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars to replace that. So all in all, I just wanted to advocate for more innovative ideas for the coming decade about how we can prevent damage to our communities. I know that there are environmental commissions established. I don't know if Cinnaminson has one. I couldn't find it. I'm not sure, but I would advocate for new word, ad hoc committee. That would be nice. That would be a cool idea. I don't know.
I've heard that before. That's good. Thank you.
Yeah, right. So I don't know if that's in the cards for the next year, but I think that would be maybe a good start, get some community involvement, especially the people that live in these areas. Obviously, I don't know if I would be the first person you'd want to go to about that, but with this gap year, I have a lot of time on my hands, so I would love to have any idea or be able to give back to the community any way possible.
Thank you.
That's all.
Appreciate
Hope the Eagles beat them, so I won't hold you guys up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Of course.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Mayor, may I?
Yes, you may.
Just to kind of piggyback on that. Mr. Gaunt's not here, so he can't speak to this, but Eric, I think this is a really good opportunity to kind of talk about, how serious this committee does take some of the stormwater mitigation, by talking about what we did over, actually, some of the issues on the consent agenda tonight talk about reconstruction of some of the streets and some of the things that we've done, so
Yeah.
if you would.
Sure. So I happen to agree as the administrator with your comments, and I know the committee is supportive of making improvements to infrastructure. It's been something that, since the outset of me being here with this group around the same time, great strides with the support of our township engineer, Public Works, in making improvements throughout the community, specifically the past couple years, focusing on both the parish section of the town and East Riverton, where there seems to be historically a number of issues with drainage. There's been, I would say, is it about 6 roads now over just in East Riverton section have been reconstructed in the past 4 years? It's about 6 now.
Totally, top to bottom, all the stormwater.
Yeah, complete, with not just the resurfacing, but reconstruction. And we have a strong focus, a project list that, we work with Mr. Barbadoro. We have a report that we get and share with the liaison here to the committee on the ongoing projects, I would say 75% of them are specific to the issues that you're bringing before us tonight. It's a major focus of all of us, for all of us. And we have plans to continue. We just can't do it all at once. So you try to knock off one or two at a time, which we've been successful with that. And that's because we've been aggressive. This committee has told us, go out and find the money. And, tens of millions of dollars with the support of this governing body, securing grant funding for our residents, which is a huge help in getting these projects done. And then one more comment is we are literally in the middle of reviewing with Mr. Barbadoro and his colleagues the new stormwater regulations, which are ever-changing and shifting. Heard here first, because you brought it up, sir, we're going to be bringing before the committee probably in January, February-ish, maybe March, depending on how it plays out, some legislation we're going to need to take that directly impacts positive stormwater improvements for the town, working with the state. So you'll see that coming up soon. They'll all see that. So it's part of a plan, always moving parts, and we're working towards it, but it's definitely something we got going for us. So thank you.
Which is nice. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for bringing it forward. All Caddyshack. Anybody else?
No, sir.
No, sir? Okay. We had to close public comment, right? Yes, we do.
Yes, we do.
Can I make a motion to close public comment then?
Make a motion to close public comment?
And thank you, Mr. Horner. I will second that. Voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Nays? The ayes have it.
Okay.
Next is comments from committee. Any comments from committee tonight?
I have one, Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
I would like to also thank you for leading what I think has been a very successful year.
Thank you.
I'd like to thank the staff as well, Mr. Mitten in the back there, and of course, Joe, I guess.
Wow.
Don't worry, Joe.
Thank you, Joe.
Coming low.
Sorry, Joe, it just wouldn't be the same if I did, right?
Nice job.
And of course, Eric Schubiger, administrator extraordinaire, absolutely. And, yeah, happy holidays.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go. That's it.
You did it. You said it all.
Anybody else?
I said it all,
I
right?
think Ryan.
I believe Ryan has said everything that needs to be
Ryan
said.
it all.
Hey, that's how it works.
All right, my
Ryan said
turn.
it all. Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, I just share the sentiments of
Happy
my
holidays.
colleagues. So happy holidays, everybody.
So we're not
Happy
redundant.
New Year.
the best
Everybody
when you go
stay
first.
safe and
It
healthy.
is excellent. You get to go first. Yep, you get to say all the
I'm
things.
done.
You done? Anything?
Happy
all been
holidays,
said.
everybody. Go Birds.
I just would
Go
like
Birds.
to say, this has been a great year. I'd like to thank my fellow committee members and our staff, all of our staff. You guys help me. I'm kind of I bumble and screw things up a lot, but you guys keep me in line, and it's been a great year. It's been an honor working with you. It's been an honor working for you. Looking forward to another 3 years. And wish everybody a happy holiday, and I'm sure we'll see you before, no, I won't see you before New Year's. And Happy New Year's also.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for doing your duty, I appreciate it.
Boom.
Boom.
Oh, you brought
Got
that
it.
one back.
Got it all in. All right, adjournment. Can I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn the meeting, Mr. Mayor.
I will second that, because it's my last big meeting. Voice vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, the ayes have it. The meeting is now adjourned. Next meeting is December 30th. Or is it 30th or 29th?
It's the 28th.
That's the closeout.
29th.
Yes.
28th?
28th at 10:30 a.m.
28th. The next meeting is December 28th, 2023 at 10:30. Our closeout meeting.
Via Zoom?
It'll be via Zoom.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Everyone have a great holiday. Meeting's adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.